Now, Israel claims to have suffered its worst combat losses so far in the war in the last 24 hours. Its chief military spokesperson has now finally admitted that most of these deaths were reported from the Shijaya district of the Gaza city, where the Israeli troops were reportedly ambushed while they were trying to carry out their offensive in some of the most densely populated neighborhoods anywhere in the world. The dead Israeli soldiers included the likes of a colonel commanding a forward base and also a lieutenant colonel commanding a regiment. An intense fighting was also witnessed between Hamas and the Israeli soldiers, which is said to be underway in both the northern and the southern parts of the Gaza Strip. And this comes just a day after the United Nations demanded for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. Meanwhile, the American President Joe Biden has said that Israel is in fact losing international support with its indiscriminate bombing of the civilians. Meanwhile, the Israeli government is reportedly seeking some diplomatic efforts to try and push back Hezbollah away from the Lebanese border. The chairman of the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee of the Israeli Parliament said this on Wednesday, where Israel has been trading fire with Hezbollah on the Lebanese frontier. The border skirmishes have been the worst since Israel and Hezbollah, remember, had fought a month-long war back in 2006. And Israel has warned that Beirut would be turned into Gaza if Israel is forced to engage in a combat with Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah, which operates as a political party and also as a heavily armed group, is Lebanon's most powerful group. And this is one of the biggest geopolitical tensions that Israel has, that this war could now turn into a two-frontal war. And the military wing of the Hamas has released videos showing the intense fighting that it is, of course, engaging with the Israelis in Gaza City and also in Khan Yunis. Now, this footage shows armed fighters targeting and also taking upon the Israeli armored vehicles with some very basic elementary weapons. In some instances, explosive devices are being shown as being placed and detonated in ambushes, which has taken the Israelis by surprise. The media agencies have not been able to verify the location or the date of some of these videos, but intense fighting has of course been reported in both the northern and the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And this comes just a day after the United Nations had demanded for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. Meanwhile, the Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh has said that the group is ready to discuss with Israel any arrangement or initiative that could lead to a ceasefire. A commercial tanker from India narrowly escaped two missiles that were reportedly launched by Yemen's Houthi rebels on Wednesday. The commercial tanker was carrying Indian-manufactured jet fuel. Near the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the attack in the Red Sea comes just a day after the Iranian-backed Houthis claimed to have attacked a Norwegian tanker. The official said that an American warship has shot down a suspected Houthi drone that was flying in its direction during the incident. No one was injured in the attack, and the latest attack has come amidst a raging campaign by the Houthis to target any ship that makes its way through the Bab el-Mandeb stretch of water to try and get resources into Israel. In November, the Houthis had seized a vehicle transport ship linked to the Israelis in the Red Sea, and the Houthis have said that any ship carrying cargo to Israel will be blocked so long as Israel continues with its campaign of bombing the Gaza Strip. The Jabalia refugee camp was reportedly flooded after being hit by heavy rains and strong winds. Aid officials have said that the arrival of rainy winter weather in Gaza has in fact worsened the living conditions for hundreds of thousands of families staying in makeshift tents. The war has rendered the vast majority of Gaza's 2.3 million people completely homeless. The Republican-controlled U.S. House of Representatives has voted to formally authorize its ongoing impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. The U.S. president has questioned the priorities of the House Republicans and has called it a baseless Republican impeachment stunt. And the House voted on partisan lines, which is 221 to 213, to launch the inquiry. The Republicans are rallying behind the politically charged process despite the lingering concern that the investigation has not produced any evidence of misconduct by the president. The House Republicans are examining whether Biden had improperly benefited from his 53-year-old son Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings when he was vice president from 2009 till 2017 under Barack Obama's presidency.
I asked for a recall.
Britain, Japan and Italy have also signed an international treaty to establish a program aimed at developing an advanced fighter jet. The parliaments of each of these nations must ratify the agreement, and the countries are aiming to see the combat aircraft in flight by 2035. The joint development phase of the program will begin in 2025, and according to the British government, the supersonic stealth jet will feature a radar that can provide 10,000 times more data than current systems. When Donald Trump's testimony has concluded in his civil fraud trial, the former U.S. president is in fact accused of lying about his net worth to dupe the lenders. The lawsuit by the New York Attorney General seeks to fine Donald Trump at least about $250 million and curtail his ability to do business in New York. Trump, the frontrunner for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination, has denied any wrongdoing and has called the case a scam. The judge presiding over the case is also expected to issue a verdict after closing arguments on the 11th of January. The trial began on the 2nd of October and is centered on financial documents and expert testimony. EU leaders are heading into a high-stakes summit for Ukraine with a macroeconomic package of $54 billion and also a promise of formal membership talks on the table. Now, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban has threatened to veto both steps that would condemn the meet to failure and to leave Kiev out in the cold almost 2 years after Russia launched an invasion. The summit comes at a crucial time in Ukraine's war against Russia's invasion after a counter-offensive failed to make major gains. The Biden administration so far has been simply unable to get a $60 billion aid package for Kiev through the U.S. Congress. The Ukrainian president has said that his country had carried out the necessary political reforms to get the go-ahead and has urged the EU to honor its commitments. Volodymyr Zelensky said that the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban had no reason to block Ukraine's EU membership. The first buses going west left from St. Petersburg after Finland reopened its borders. Finland, which had shut its Russian border in November, reopened the crossing point on the 13th of December. And this was done to block an increasing number of refugees from arriving in the Nordic nation. Now, Finland had claimed that illegal migration was being orchestrated by Moscow. Some 900 asylum seekers from several countries, including Kenya, Morocco, Pakistan, Somalia, Syria and Yemen, entered into Finland via Russia in November. The arrivals stopped after Finland in fact closed the border, and Finland has said that Russia was in fact funneling people to the border in retaliation against Helsinki's decision to increase defense cooperation with the United States. The Russian veteran rights activist Oleg Orlov is back in court, and he is appealing against a fine after he was found guilty of charges of discrediting the Russian armed forces. The penalty was, of course, handed down the 11th of October over an article that he had penned in November last year. He has argued that Russia had in fact fallen into fascism under President Vladimir Putin's rule in the original trial that concluded on the 11th of October. The prosecutors have agreed to a fine because of Orlov's age and state of health instead of pushing for a 3-year prison sentence under the new laws. And Japan's top government spokesperson resigned as the chief cabinet secretary over a fundraising scandal. Speaking at a regular press briefing, Hirokazu Matsuno said that he had submitted his resignation letter to Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. Ministers of the Industry, Agriculture and Internal Affairs also submitted their resignations amid the third cabinet shake-up in 16 months. Now, all the four ministers are in fact from the biggest and the most powerful faction within the ruling Liberal Democrat Party. The embattled Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida replaced four cabinet ministers today, and he's trying to contain the fallout from the fundraising scandal. Prime Minister Kishida appointed former Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi as the Chief Cabinet Secretary and the former Justice Minister Ken Saito as the Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry. Taikeiki Matsumoto was appointed as the Internal Affairs Minister, and Tetsushi Sakamoto was given the Agriculture portfolio. Now, the new ministers received their appointment documents from Kishida and then bowed before Emperor Naruhito. The fifth suspect involved in the major security breach of the Lok Sabha on Wednesday has been detained and charged under the Anti-Terror Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. The Ministry of Home Affairs, on the request of the Lok Sabha Secretariat, formed an inquiry committee to probe the security breach. Now, the inquiry committee, also headed by Central Reserve Police Force Director General, will have its members from other security agencies and experts, and it will probe the lapse in the security of the Parliament and subsequently recommend some action. The security breach, in fact, took place on the 22nd anniversary of the 13th of December 2001 terror attack on the old Parliament building. Meanwhile, the Indian Army has managed to rescue at least about 800 tourists who were stranded in the high-altitude area of eastern Sikkim. The troops of Trishakti Corps, a division of the Indian Army, initiated the rescue operation that has continued till late evening. The mission involved moving tourists, which includes elderly individuals, women and children, to some safe zones, providing them with shelter, warm clothing, medical assistance and also some hot meals. Heavy snowfall has blanketed China, with temperatures expected to fall sharply over the next 2 days, bringing in travel chaos. Snow has disrupted the schedule of trains in several cities. Over 6,000 responders have been dispatched by the Beijing Transportation Department. China has been grappling with extreme weather events this year, from record rainfall to gripping hot summer that scientists have blamed on climate change. The tropical cyclone Jasper that made its landfall in Australia has weakened to a low-pressure system. However, it has continued to lash the northeastern coast with rain and has left almost about 40,000 homes and businesses without power. Cyclone Jasper crossed the Queensland state coast late on Wednesday as a Category 2 storm. And the winds also very quickly eased as the storm tracked west across land, but heavy rains was forecast to continue through Thursday with the risk of flooding, and several roads were in fact shut by fallen trees and floodwaters. Emergency services officers rescued 12 people and also a dog from the floodwaters at the town of Mosman. Local authorities have reported that flash flooding can be a possibility. The British coin producer, the Royal Mint, in partnership with the United Kingdom's Natural History Museum, unveiled a new series of collectible 50-penny coins. Each coin showcased a different iconic dinosaur. The first coin of the series, featuring the Tyrannosaurus, marks the first time that this specimen had been depicted on a 50-pence piece. Now, other coins in the three-part collection will display the Stegosaurus and the Diplodocus. The designs, based on current scientific understanding, offer accurate reconstructions of the dinosaurs and also their habitats. Now, the coins that are part of the Tales of the Earth series are available to purchase from the Royal Mint's website. Scientists in Switzerland have shown that we can, of course, control an extra robotic arm with our eyes and breathing. The research published in Science Robotics could help the design of robotic prosthetics for people who have lost their motor functions. The researchers have also devised a control system where a user wearing virtual reality goggles sees 3 arms, while a belt around their waist measures their breathing in and out. The researchers also tested breathing control with a real robotic arm strapped to the chest, and the study is part of a Swiss National Science Foundation project to develop a wearable robotic arm to assist in daily tasks or to help in search and rescue. The IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva has called for swift regulation of cryptocurrency, citing potential risks to global financial stability. Addressing a conference in Seoul, Georgieva highlighted some concerns that the high adoption of crypto assets could undermine macro-financial stability, affecting monetary policy, capital flow management and tax collection. Emphasizing the need for rules to harness the benefits of crypto technologies without compromising on stability, Georgieva has assured that regulations aren't meant to stifle innovation. The IMF chief has also urged policymakers to actively shape the development of digital money, emphasizing the importance of learning from both emerging markets and advanced economies. And in today's energy landscape, oil prices have rallied in Asian markets. A significant withdrawal from the US crude storage, coupled with optimistic demand expectations post US Federal Reserve signals on lower borrowing costs in 2024, has fueled the surge. West Asia tensions and also a Red Sea tanker attack have added to concerns, pushing the market higher. The dollar's decline over 3 sessions to a 4-month low made oil more accessible for foreign buyers. However, caution persists as rising fuel inventories in the US have hinted at declining winter demand. The OPEC has also dismissed fears attributing the recent crude price slide to exaggerated concerns.